Everything's all nice and cleaned up. I put a little fresh coat of paint on stuff before I ended up putting on the proportioning valve, just because once you start getting all your brake lines and all that stuff on, you don't want to start spraying the roll cage or spraying the frame and then you get it all over your brake lines. The firewall goes straight up the back, down through here. That'll be my rear. Oh, we're putting her down on the ground. We got to see how it looks, but no, not everything is all lined up, dead nuts perfect. When I ended up doing all the back half work where I cleared off all the undercoating, that's what I got to finish up on. So I got to here, but I still got to finish scraping it and all that. So this is what we got going on with this bad boy. I did a little cleaning up on the frame. I cut my bracket down, as you guys can see here. So I cut the bracket down and I made it to where I can comfortably get to this back side for when I actually do make my brake lines. I can tighten that pretty easy. So I just cut this down, ground some of that zinc dichromate off, and we're going to mount it right here. Oh, it's going to take out the Trailblazer. So as you can see, I'm going to show you guys. Old man's going to try the Trailblazer. He's going to go get some lunch. Him and Schuler finished up on getting that power steering cooler out. So they just filled it up, and we'll wait to hear from him when he gets back. But, yeah. So let's get welding on this bad boy, and then I'll be able to start figuring out where I'm going to be able to do brake lines and all that stuff, but it looks like I got a lot more room down here. So, set it up right about there. Oh, I need my light. Come on, stick on there. There we go. Thank you. You suck. That's why you need your light. So you can make sure you're not just sitting there welding on on just the bracket. And that's what I did. I pretty much sat there and welded on the bracket. Try it again. I just got an old welding helmet that just doesn't quite illuminate to the best of its ability. So I always gotta have a light in here so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. That's better. So that is where I'm planning on putting it. You know, and I can stick my whole hand in here, all that stuff. So we're all good in that sense. Oh, are we straight? There we go. Now we're straight. So let me get another tack on here. Get this out of the way. All right. There, that should hold it. I'll let that cool down, and then I'll clean up that one spot that I screwed up and just welded the bracket. But as you guys can see, it's just a matter of making your own brake lines, you know, which is not that big of a deal. If you can make headers, brake lines are nothing. So, like I said, I got that much room up top. So I'll come from that guy to here, that guy to that fitting. That's my passenger side. This brake line, which is way up here that's making all the noise, will come down and around and go into the to the backside there. This guy is going to go against the firewall, go straight up the back, down through here. That'll be my rear. And then the line lock, this guy still gets connected over here. And then this one here will come out the side. I'll put a 90-degree bend into it. Straight down we go. And it'll come right into here. So then that'll be everything that I need for the brake setup. Okay, so the old man took off in the Mercedes, and I got to actually see this thing sitting here with the car out of the way, and it's like, oh my God, doesn't that just look good? So a little bit of a change of plans. I'm going to throw the front fenders on, and you can see I have the radiator support in. I got to do a little trimming on that. And I'm just going to lightly put the fenders on. I just want to see what this thing's going to look like, but I'm hitting this guy right here, so I got to do a little trimming in here, and obviously the radiator's not going to be in the front, it's going to be in the back. But like I said, when he pulled that thing out and I looked at it, I'm going, oh, we got to put the nose on the car just to see what she's going to look like. And yes, the old black pearl still looking good right there. But got to sit and wait on the motor for that. But oh, look at that though! Doesn't that just look pretty? Better than chocolate chip cookies. So let's go get those front nose pieces and see what it's going to look like. Oh, we're putting her down on the ground. We got to see how it looks, but no, not everything is all lined up, dead nuts perfect, but we got the fenders on and the radiator support in, but we're just going to put it on the ground just to see. I forgot how much travel you have. Yeah, I got to put some hair in those tires. Here we come to inside. There we go. There, is that better?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Is that sitting more level?
Yeah, right at the top of the tire.
Like I said, she looks good with the front end on there, just to give you a little bit more idea of what it's going to be like. But it was just to see it. You know, where's the stance, all that. I threw some air in the back tires because those things are almost flat. Obviously, I threw air in the Camaro tires too because those are flat. But I just wanted to take a good look. But the front nose is going to come off so we can get to the brakes. And I have to pull the headers and all that stuff off. So you can see the brake line down there kind of hanging. And then I ended up pulling off the proportioning valve on this side. And where I got it, I can't come through down here to get it. And where it is, you can't even see the bracket. I had to fight, you know, getting my hand down in there trying to get into here. So only way I can get the headers off is to pull the fenders off. So all of this is going to come off, but I was telling the old man that I don't think I'm going to really change the stance too much because the way that it sits, oh, let me get low. You can see on the ground level there, when I was looking at the front wheel, it was like, oh, I'm going to tuck the wheel up inside the wheel well and all that. I think I'm going to leave it alone. Because to me, having just a little bit of that gap is kind of that old flavor, but I don't think I'm going to drop it. You know? And at that point, old man's got a little food in his mouth. He's eating some lunch. But anyways, just wanted to touch base on that one. So, and we're also going to switch things around. We're going to switch the 55 and the old man's Camaro. We're going to throw that thing up on the lift because the underside of that thing, I'm close, but I got to finish taking the undercoating off. And man, you're talking 70 years worth of undercoating. So I got to get the little torch out, heat it up, scrape it off. I want to paint it all before I start running brake lines, fuel lines, and all that stuff. Everything's all nice and cleaned up. I put a little fresh coat of paint on stuff before I ended up putting on the proportioning valve, just because once you start getting all your brake lines and all that stuff on, you don't want to start spraying the roll cage or spraying the frame and then you get it all over your brake lines. Now, that is if you are doing the same as what I'm doing on the 55, where my brake lines, I want them cleaned up, shiny, kind of a nice little polish to them to show off what I'm doing. If you're somebody who just like, you're just going to throw your brake lines on, you're just going to bomb them in black to match the frame and all that stuff, well, some of this isn't going to apply to you, just the detailing stuff. And I'm going to show you guys how to detail up your brake lines and not have to spend the money on old, polished, nice stainless steel brake lines. It's pretty easy and basic, but I'm just going to give you guys some little detailing tips here in a second. What I'm going to show you right here is, and this is very important, when you are going through, and this right here is the old brake line setup that was for the back brakes. Remember, it came up the firewall, then came in because proportion valve was going to be up here. Well, I ended up trimming it down, way down here, because once it's in, you can see that I got extra room. I have to come into here, so I'm going to have to come up and bend and come in and fiddle. But this is the tip. And I notice a lot of people forget to do this. Once I trim it, you see how the tip of that has got like a burr in it, and it's way smaller than what the actual line itself is. How big is the normal line? Well, that's how big it is. That's how big it should be. This is the same brake line. That's how big you should be. Again, think of the restriction that you have, and hopefully I can get this thing to, there you go. Think of the restriction that you're going to have. So if you're going through and you're trimming up your brake lines and you're going through all that stuff and you don't do what I'm going to show you here, you're going to have a problem in the pedal. The brakes are going to just not feel quite right. And this could be one of those nickel and dime type things that are going to bite you. So what you do is on a 3/16 line, we set up an 1/8 inch drill bit. And then this is what we're going to do. The big thing, don't drill your frickin' hand, especially if it's on the car. We don't want to go to the hospital. So you're just going to take this and we're just going to set it on there and just gently get your burrs off. Don't want them going in the line. That's it. Made it through. Now, if you guys remember how it was, let me pull you off here. Now, if you remember what it was, notice how much bigger that is now? That right there is probably one of the biggest things that I've noticed people screw up on. They'll trim their lines, they'll flare them, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I don't have any brakes, I don't have any brakes. We start checking where they made their cuts. They don't do that one simple little trick. So that's a little trick that some of you guys know it, and a lot of people don't. So don't forget that one. So, and the old man finally made it in the garage. Hi, how's it going? Hi. So now I'm going to do some bending up. Now that right there, you can do it in the vise, and then you don't have to worry about drilling through your hand. But this is already bent on the car. That's why I went through and was like, hey, you could tell I was going super slow. So now let's figure out the bending portion of this guy. All right, super simple here. Now, I've already bought 2 of these lines. This is 1/4 inch line that you need for your rears. Now, I already bought 2 of these that are 51 or 52 inches long. It wasn't that expensive. It was like 15 bucks. Now, this one I ended up chopping off. So this chunk here that I'm going to drop through is about 15 inches long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use it as a dummy. So now I'm going to take some basic measurements. I want to run it flat against there. I want to run it flat against the firewall here. So I'm just from there to here. We are about, let's say 5.5. So I'm going to let it come back a little bit. So I'm going to do 5 1/4. And then I'm going to want to raise it up. Oh, plus you got to remember you're adding in the nut that you're going to thread into. So at that point, I want to make it as tight as I can with being able to use my bender. So I would say roughly, just to be safe, I'm going to want to be probably right about in there, which is going to be probably 3/4 of an inch off of here. No, it's about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go up to 3/4 of an inch. And like I said, this is just to do some sort of dummy lines that we can do. Now, first things first, let's bend that guy up. Then from that point, once this has been up, I'm going to go to the center of this line back 5.5 inches or 5.25, because you got to remember, once you make that bend, it's always in the center of what these bends are. Or I'm sorry, what these tubes are. So I do 5.25 plus you're adding in, this is a 1/4 inch line, a 1/16. So I don't want to be like flat against that firewall. I want to be really, really tight. But what I don't want to do is all of a sudden have this, I'm going to over exaggerate it. It's way up here. Well, then you just bend it too bad. So normally I go short and then I just lengthen it out a little bit. That's why we're using a dummy line. Then I'll be able to have that distance perfect. And then from that point, we'll work our way up and then go to the master cylinder. So that is the dummy line made up. And I don't care that it comes up to here and it stops. It does not matter. Doing this section coming across, coming up to here, that doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? That's not the hard part. The hard part is where the header is going to fit. So that is dummied up there to there, and it's not a bad distance back. You can see how tight it is. I'm trying to get you guys in there, but you can see how tight it is. It's not too bad. I probably will shrink it up a smidge, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the header, slip the header inside there, and I want to see how close that guy is to the header. If I have to shrink this distance down, because this right now on my bender, and I'll show you my bender I'm using, on my tubing bender here, on this guy, and it'll do 3/16, 1/4 inch, and 3/8 line. Well, what I did was I hooked this guy in as close as it would do. So this is the tightest bend that I can make with that on there. The other version of doing this would be to take this off, make the bend, reflare this end. I might have to do that, but first things first, let's see if this actually works. So let me grab that header. All right, so I snuck the header back in there. Figured you guys didn't want to see me sitting here struggling trying to get this thing in, because, oh man, you can see that's where it's hitting the tire, and then that's where I'm catching this section down in here. So I'm going to have to do some touch-ups on the headers, but I'm figuring a way in and out. You know, you got to kind of learn, how to stick the header in, stick the header out, because there's just goofy angles. Driver side's a pain in the butt. Passenger side's nice and smooth. But anyways, so the room that I got now, which isn't technically bad, I just got one bolt in right now. Oh, hold on, sorry. I got to use my left hand here to do a little holding. Sorry, guys. There we go. Okay, so that right there is what I have. So I got good room, and that distance right there is about 2 fingers, so it's probably about 1.5 inches away. I'm going to try to shrink that pretty much as far as I possibly can. But at that point, you can see where I am on the firewall, like down in there. You know, we got plenty of room. I'm perfectly fine. That right there, that distance from there to there, is pretty much the closest that I have to worry about. So the way I'm looking at it is, the more that I can shrink that down and not interfere with the bend for flow of the fluid, the better it's going to be. I'm just going to get myself away from the heat. So I'm going to shrink. I'm just going to take that, shrink that line up a little bit. But again, this is why we use the dummy line, just to see, could I get away with doing that with my bender and not having to reflare it? Nope. I'm going to have to reflare it. So it's basically cut it down as short as I can to where I can still keep the nut on there to the bend, and then flare it, put it on, and that's as good as it's going to get. So let me do that, and then we'll take another look. So that is where we ended up. This is absolutely as short as I can get it. Pull the header back off, and at that point, with even the header off the car, sorry, I was moving my microphone around. With the header on the car, I can fit 4 fingers in there, so we're perfectly fine. So this is actually the line that I'm going to use. So this is already flared, already good to go. I have the back pretty much laying up right against the firewall, just barely off. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm coming up the side of her, just like that. and then I'm just going to come straight across. Right here is where I can go. The bracket for the line lock is just above it, so it's going to slide through the back side of the line lock, come out, come over, come in. So I am going to bend those lines up next. You can see how I'm skimming up the back side. I came around the line lock, and now what I have to do is I just have to come in here and make my turn going into the rear. Now at that point, now my rear brakes will all be good. So I didn't know if you guys wanted to see every last little bend I did on that, so I just kind of more or less got to the point here. Now with the bender, I'm going to show you how you're going to be able to actually center to this, because one of the problems people have is when you're bending with this thing, right? When you're going through, it's like, okay, well, my center mark, to where I want this to be, right here pointing at it to where, I want the middle of the bend to be there. I'm going to show you guys how to set it up on this to be able to get to that middle portion of that bend. All right, so here's a dummy piece that I'm going to show you. Let's just say, argument's sake, I'm going to take this. I'm going to set it up at, let's go 2¼ inches. So we'll go right there, all right? So let me make a little bit better mark here so you guys can see what I got. Now, at this point, this is how we're going to be able to get it centered. Now, at that 2¼ inches, there's the black mark. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this thing in, make sure I'm on the 1/4 inch line here. Now, you can see the black mark that I have here, right? Now, a lot of times people would set it up to where they got it right on the 0, where I'm in here, or they would set it up way down here. Obviously, it's not going to happen. What I'm going to do is this black mark, I'm going to put it right in the center curve of this. That's where I want it to be. So to do that, from the side, I'm going to line it up with the curve. So I'm going to try to line it up right there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock it in. I know you guys can't see it. I'm just trying to get that set up. So I'm going to lock it in. I'm going to bend it around. Let's say we go to that 90. And then, let's say I'm grabbing, so now I'm going to grab a tape measure. And we're going to measure. Boom. And if you can see where I'm at my 2¼ right there. Yes, I am. So there is my 2¼ So that is how you're going to be able to get yourself centered. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measurement off the firewall to this center point right here and do what I just showed you. You guys, I know this sounds unbelievably super simple where it's just, just this and a little bit of Scotch-Brite. But sometimes you just actually need to see with your own eyes the difference of it and if it's worth it. Like I said, some people look at it and it's like, nah, it ain't worth doing that. All I'm doing is you can feel kind of the grit that this has got. So I'm just going to do 1/2 and 1/2 here. And then I'm going to clear this so you guys get a good idea of, what it looks like kind of before and after. And feel it. This side of it, you can feel it's real porous and gritty. And then this side of it is just nice and smooth. And obviously, you can see what's coming off of my fingertips here. So just get rid of that grittiness. That's all you're really worrying about. Just get rid of that grittiness. So that was all I did. And you can see the shine that we got coming off of this. Looks pretty good. See how dull that is? And you can see the difference that we have. Now, all I'm using is some of this Ace Hardware, just premium clear. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a little bit of this on it, let it sit for here for a couple of minutes, and then I'll show you the difference in it. So give me 1 second. Okay, so now she's been cleared. That's the difference that you get. So you can see how we have a nice shine to it compared to that. You can see how that's just dull and how we have a nice shine. So for some of you guys, like I said, you guys might just simply you know, throw your brake lines on, maybe hand bend them, paint it black to match the frame and all that stuff, which I'm not knocking. Fine. If it works out great, cool. More power to you. But I like doing bent lines. You can see them, polish them out, make them look nice, doing what I just showed you right there. And it just takes a little bit of, a little bit of finger grease on there and elbow grease to just make them look a little bit better. But when you're done, you have nice bent up, nice bent up lines, and you just take a little bit more time. It's one of those things. Once you pop the hood of a car and people start looking around, besides the the wow of a blown small block, well, then your eyes start looking at other details. Mega blower. All right, let's go underneath and take a look at what the 55 is all about here. So, like I was saying, floor wise in this thing, let me get down a little here. You can see where when I ended up doing all the back half work, where I cleared off all the undercoating, that's what I got to finish up on. So I got to here, but I still got to finish scraping it and all that, and I got to get to there. So I got to get all of that done. Same thing on the sides. I need to get all that done before I can finish running brake lines, from there. And I'm just going to run it on the inside edge of the frame. That's where the Power Glide transmission bracket was. So at that point, and then up front, all of this is nice, cleaned up, plenty of room for that oil pan. So we're all good in here. So this is, come all the way in the back here. So this is the setup of what's going on. So this is a Mosier Dana 60 that I ended up having them do for it. And then I believe that's chassis, I believe it's a chassis engineering ladder bar. They're super nice in the sense that you can see where this upper link actually bolts into the bottom bar. So you get way more adjustability in this link than a standard ladder bar. Much more heavy duty. Like I said, this was originally for, I was going to throw 1,500 horse, 1,600 horse at this thing. So that's what was going on there. So this is all set up, spool, I think it's 40 spline axles, 40 spline spool, 373s, all that stuff, disc brake kit. And then this is what's called a bridge frame. And a bridge frame is where I'm welded up here. And then obviously this is into the cage. I got these bars that I welded on, that one there, and then that guy there. So your posts are actually going into there. So your main hoop is welded onto that. And then your A-pillars are welded onto that. And then I have rocker bars and all that stuff that's in it. And then this is going into the cage itself. And then from that point, these bars right here, this is my real frame. And you can see where I bridged in from here to here. And I ended up doing it there to there as well. So you look at the frame now, see how paper thin that frame is? That's how much I took out of that stock frame. But you can see how much more tire I can fit inside the car. I mean, that's a lot. That's like 4 inches worth of extra tire. The nice thing is it also helps me with moving the tire in and out of the car, because then I can take the tire, because the way that's all I got for a wheel well. So I can take the tire, really tip it into the frame. I can get it out, so I don't have to like disconnect the coilovers and drop them and drop the rear end and do all that crazy stuff. So, but again, you can see that's what the floor looks like when it's all cleaned up. It's just super, super clean. But I just got to get all that undercoating off. But that's pretty much the rear suspension on this thing. It's set up very, very well. And I have a bar back here. This guy that ties into the trunk bars. I'll show you guys that later when I actually get back into doing the work inside the trunk here. But it's a beautiful, solid foundation. But that's what we're doing on the underside. So again, I just want to start scraping, getting all that stuff cleaned out, which is just a nasty job. But, at that point, then I can start running fuel lines and brake lines going to the back. So I got a little bit to do up front. It'll be probably the alternator next. And once that's done, then I'll probably start scraping all this stuff off, bombing it, getting it all painted black to where we can still open up the doors, because it's still nice enough out right now. It's not freezing cold. And then get all that stuff done. and we'll keep on cracking on the 55. And like I said, once I get that phone call from Steve and the old Black Pearl over there gets its motor back here, we'll start working back on that, and trying to make a 1600 plus horse motor for that thing. And again, this will go on pause, and then we'll probably switch cars around at that point. But we're going to keep cracking the whip on this thing. So I'm going to wrap it up. We're pretty much done for the day here. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the stuff. Hopefully the little tips and tricks on the making your brake lines just a little bit better than the average bear, works out pretty good for you. So till we meet again, my friends, don't forget, every Tuesday is when we end up throwing up, when we throw up, when we end up putting up videos every Tuesday. We try to do it around 4 or 5 o'clock. So don't forget to hit that in the notifications. Please leave a comment, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you on another one. See ya.